Ladies and gentlemen, hope all is well. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about something a little bit different. So usually on this channel, what I talk about is I talk about things about marketing, how to get clients if you're a health studio or a personal training studio, and honestly, tactics and principles and things that can help you. But in this video, I'm going to be a little bit selfish. I'm going to talk about myself. I'm going to talk about my story, what got me to the point that I'm at right now, why I'm here, and what I hope to kind of get out of the next few years of my life to ultimately see kind of where that leads to. So why am I making a video like this in the first place? So if you look at somebody like Iman Gadzhi or any of these big people in the space, you know them for their personality. You don't know them for the tactics that they use, right? You know them for them. And what I found on my YouTube channel is I don't have that many subscribers, but what I found is a lot of people that watch my YouTube channel are coming there and using me as sort of a commodity, right? I want people to see my channel, see what I talk about, and realize that, holy shit, this guy's a human, right? So who am I? Let's kind of start there, and then let's kind of move forward a little bit. So my name's Ashton. So throughout my entire life, I've always kind of been a very academic person. I would go to school. I would get like, I'd get like high 90s, really good marks, like crazy good marks. I remember like calculus 1, which was the class you take senior year of high school in order to get into good programs. I finished that class with like a 97%. I don't know what that translates to, and like it's probably like an A+ or whatever, but that's kind of a reference how smart I was, or am, right? In the sense of school, right? So I was very academic. I was very scientifically driven. I wanted to become a doctor. That was kind of my goal. I want to become a doctor, want to become a plastic surgeon, want to do something like that. And I had this slight pipe dream that I would get to university. University would be kind of the same as high school. Everyone would be very social. It'd be a great time. I'd learn a lot. The people would be cool to be around, and etc. I had this kind of like presumptive nature that I thought, university would be like once I would get there. So whatever, graduated high school, grade 12, got into a crazy good program. The program I got into was a dual degree program. So it was medical science, pre-med program, plus a business application program. The reason I got into that is because like my high school was stacked with all this clubs and everything that I, did, sports teams, etc. So whatever, got into a great program. Come first year, first week, party away, you have fun. It's orientation week. You meet everyone, have fun, party, drink, get drunk, whatever. And then I remember after that first week, after everyone kind of stopped drinking, they go to class. And then I went to class, and I remember just sitting in my lecture hall and looking at the 2,000 other kids sitting in my lecture, right? And each day that I went to one of these lectures, different subjects, I would sit down and I would ask the person, hey, is this seat taken? Or hey, whatever, what's your name? Nice to meet you. And I would start up a quick conversation. And some of these people in my class, I just couldn't deal with, right? I couldn't deal with them because like I'm better than them. It's just like I couldn't deal with them because like I would talk to them and it would be like trying to scratch a chalkboard upside down. Like it's just like these people I just didn't want to associate myself with, right? So I thought that these people in this space, right? I thought that these people would be like me, right? Social, cool people, incredibly handsome, right? Then I go to this class and I go to these lectures, I go to the labs, and I try to talk with these kids, and they're all, I don't want to say it, but they're all very quote unquote nerdy, introverted, don't want to talk to you, leave me the hell alone. I'm here to study. I just want to get by, right? And I remember specifically, I was in a lab. So labs were the worst because they were small groups and you actually had to talk with people, right? So I would dominate. I'd be like, hey, what's your name? Like, you know what I mean? Talk to me. And I remember going around and literally asking almost everyone in my lab, right? There was probably like 20 people, 25 people. I was like, do you like what you're studying? Are you enjoying what you're studying? Do you find this interesting? Right? And they're like, they had to think about it. Like they genuinely had to think if what they were doing is something that they found interest in personally, right? And they're like, I don't know. And I would question them even more. I'd say like, okay, like forget the fact that you don't like this or you like this. Based on your own personal sense of identity, right? What do you find somewhat interesting or somewhat not interesting? And they just wouldn't know, right? Why wouldn't they know? Because they had really no identity. Their identity was strictly to graduate because mommy or daddy told them to graduate and get that degree, right? There was no free thought. There was no self-thinking. It was just go get that degree and go graduate, right? So many of these kids, they couldn't answer this simple question of like, what do you really find interesting? And I would even ask them in general. I was like, why medicine? Why do you want to become a doctor? And they would say something like, oh, because there's money in it. Some people are so poor that they only chase money. They only have money, right? It's crazy to me, right? No other personality traits outside of, excuse me, outside of wanting to become a doctor to get money. Whatever. So I remember sitting in this lab and me personally being in this environment, this gray, mundane environment, LED lights. Sorry, I'm a little sick right now. LED lights, sitting in this lab. I was talking with the TA, and then the TA tells me, oh yeah, I've been in school for, the past 8 years. I'm a doctor. And now I'm making 40 an hour as a lab technician. She was like happy about it. And she told us this. I was like, what? 8 years in school, whatever. So you get the idea. I just didn't see the ROI in that. That process really turned me off. Everything about it turned me off. The people, the environment, the way things were conducted. You were just a number. You were there to give money to the school, right? The school didn't give a shit about you. Like, it's kind of just like hey, you're in a system. You're a cog in the wheel. Just keep spinning like everyone else, right? There was no free thought. And just another story kind of on top of that. Excuse me. I at the time I was in a business course. And what that business course is an introductory business course, right? And my professor, first year, she was a lovely person. Lovely, right? But I had this conception that she was a little bit slow. I don't know. I just thought she was slow. Just the way she talked. She seemed like she presented herself to be a little bit stupid, quote unquote, right? And I remember we had a unit on marketing, right? I'm a science kid. Like I was in science programs, but I just took a business elective. And we had a program on marketing. And I go into this fucking marketing lecture, right? Where we have this final big project, right? And we're talking about Facebook ads. Oh, for this case study, we're going to run Facebook ads to get clients. And they list it just so arbitrarily, Facebook ads, right? It's like saying, oh, working out. It's like, okay, what kind of whatever, right? So I was like, okay, so Facebook ads, like, what does that mean, right? And they were looking at cost per acquisition, CPA. Cost per acquisition is how much you pay to get a customer, right? And I was asking questions. I was like, that's the end of the funnel. I had a decent understanding of marketing, funnels and whatnot. And I was asking questions about funnels. I was like, that's the cost per acquisition, and I was asking questions about what top of funnel looks like. That's more bottom of funnel. What does top of funnel look like? Are there any, like, what are the ads? What's the messaging? What's the offer? Creative. And then I would be like, like, what is the funnel? And they just couldn't answer. What's a funnel? What's a funnel? This is what my professor would say. What's a funnel? Right? My marketing professor didn't know what a funnel is, right? That was a clear indication that it wasn't their fault that they didn't know what a marketing funnel was. It was my fault for being there in the first place, right? So what I did after that is I realized that a lot of people in that school system are dumb, right? And they only really think the way that you have to think in order to get the grades. Let me give you an example. In biology, in nature, you only survive as much as you need to just pass on your genes. Nothing less, nothing more, right? So when you're in nature, right, and there's a predator, and you develop an evolutionary trait, an adaptation, so that you can run faster away from that predator, right? This is what you've gained evolutionarily. You're not going to develop a 300x multiple on speed, right, to help you run away from it 300 times faster. You're just going to develop the trait to run away from it just enough so that you survive, not 300 times more, right? So these people in this class setting, they're kind of just doing what they need to do just to survive, right? This is the curriculum, and pretty much you have to kind of fall within that curriculum. Excuse me. Do what the teacher says, do what the process says, and I'm going to cheat the system just to get the best grades. I'm not going to learn what I actually need to learn for myself. I'm just going to learn what I need to learn to get the grade, right? So that really turned me off as well, because there was no free thinking. And yeah, so that whole process really turned me off. So what happened from there is it was pretty much early in the year, pretty much start of the year. I was sitting in my dorm room. I was like, I can't do this. School just sucks. I don't like this. At the moment, I was maybe a little bit depressed, kind of depressed. And the weather here is horrible. So in London, Ontario, it's just like gray all the time. From like September, October to like spring, it's just gray, right? And being in that setting where I didn't have any free will, I was kind of a cog in the wheel, plus the weather, plus that environment, just all sucked. So I made a plan. I was like, okay, I'm going to do 30 minutes a day of my agency. I'm just going to watch a YouTube video about the agency. If that's what it is, I'm going to watch a YouTube video for 30 minutes, or I'm going to write something for 30 minutes, or I'm going to maybe look at a course. I'm going to read a book about this specific topic for 30 minutes. And that's what I did for 30 minutes every single day. So I started with 30 minutes every single day for about a month. That 30 minutes was honestly just YouTube videos at the time, just taking notes. I had this journal, this little like notepad, Hilroy, and I would take notes. And I still have the document. I started this company with somebody else, right? A partner. And I should actually give him a call, because I actually forgot that I started with him, but we started it together, right? It was initially called 222 Media, right? And this is not like I made it type video. This is like kind of just a look back on my behalf, but like it was initially called 222 Media. We were going to help contractors, right? I took Iman Gadzhi's course. I watched like Montel Gordon, Iman Gadzhi, Charlie Morgan, and I was like, I'm going to start an SMA. So we were like, okay, we're going to start with contractors, and then we're going to move to fitness people after. That was always my goal. I was like, fitness people, but I'm going to do contractors first because it's like familiar. So I did contractors for a little bit, didn't like it, and then I switched to fitness people. And I remember my friend, I love him, he's a great kid, but he did the thing with me for maybe 2 weeks. 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks he did it with me, and he didn't even quit. He just like slowly faded out. He didn't even really have the balls or whatever just to say, hey man, I'm not going to do this anymore, because there's ego involved in that. But he just said, or it just kind of slowly faded out. And I just continued with 30 minutes a day. And it was a very easy commitment. Like, I remember I would do school, I'd do homework, and then the time would come where it would be like, 11:30, and I'd be like, okay, instead of just continuing doing homework until midnight, I'm just going to do 30 minutes and then go to bed, right? So it was pretty easy. It wasn't that hard, And then slowly what happened is my brain started to get consumed by the thought of getting clients and escaping, right? So I just slowly started to focus more on it. And I remember I went from 30 minutes to maybe an hour a day to 2 hours a day, 2 hours a day to 3 hours a day, to the point maybe like 3 to 4 months later where I was doing it pretty much full time. And I was maybe doing like an hour to 30 minutes of school every day. Not even. I remember in school for an entire semester. So a semester is about 4 months, right? For an entire semester, I did zero work and didn't go to any lectures up until the point of the exam. I studied for like a week straight for the exams, passed the exams, just got by, right? And then after the midterm exams, I didn't do anything for like 2 months or whatever. And then I did the finals and I just did it and I passed. Did I get like 98s, 80s? No. I got like 60s or high 50s. I passed, right? And slowly what happened is I started to kind of wean off school and yeah. And then, slowly start to pick up clients. How did I get my first client? I pretty much got my first client through an awesome connection. And that connection was through cold calling. So I knew someone who knew someone, and then I scheduled a meeting. The sales cycle for that first sale was probably like 4 weeks. Honestly, it was horrible. And yeah, it was awesome. Like that first feeling of getting that payment was amazing. $3,000 in the bank. I spent it so quickly, but I knew what that feeling felt like. And once I got that first feeling, there was no turning back, right? It's like doing heroin for the first time. You're not going to just like stop doing heroin after you do heroin. That's what it felt like to me. It's like I saw the light, I took the red pill. There's no going back once you're down that rabbit hole, right? So kept going, kept going, kept going. After I saw my first client, 6 months later, I hit my first 10K months, 10K month, 6 months. After I saw my first client, it took me 6 months after that to hit, 10K, which was okay. And then, right now, pretty much after that, it took me a month to hit 20. Like next month was 20, right? So I'm not making, crazy, crazy money. I'm not making millions a year, but I'm at the point now where I can like take care of myself and pay for the things I need to pay for. And I kind of have a sense of freedom and that I can do whatever I want. But what I don't have at this point is, the way I see it is, once you're making a certain amount of money, your lifestyle changes when you're making a certain amount of money. So when you're making like, let's say 0 to, let's say 2K a month, 1.5K a month, you are not owned by anyone. You are a free mason. You can do whatever you want. You can go on a trip to Costa Rica for 2 months and do nothing, right? Because you're basically homeless, right? You have utter freedom, right? And then after that, once you're making, let's say 3 to 15, 20K a month, maybe 30K a month, 3 to 30K a month, that middle zone, you are tied to your business or to your job, right? I want to say, yeah, 3 to maybe 5 to 30K a month, you are tied to your job. You don't have as much freedom as when you were making less, right? You have commitments, etc. You have responsibilities. You have things you have to do. Right? So what pretty much happens is, once you get past that maybe 30, 40, 50K a month mark, I want to say it really starts to kick in around 50K from what I've heard. That's when you kind of unlock the freedom that the other side of the bell curve has in terms of that utter freedom. So that 50 to 100K a month is like, 7 figures pretty much annually, is when the freedom really starts to kick in. So I'm kind of in the middle right now. And you may look and say, oh my God, this kid's making 6 figures. Sounds good. Sounds like a dream life, but it really isn't, right? I still, get up really early, still go to the gym. I still have a sense of discipline. I have commitment to my team. I have commitment to my clients. And with that process, right, I feel like it feels like the further I get in business, the more behind I always get. It's a double-edged sword, and it's extremely paradoxical, because it's like the further you go down the path, the farther away from the goal it feels like you actually are. Right? So So that's a little bit about my story, my process. Um, this video is like literally totally off the dome. Um, and as of right now, kind of looking forward, that was my past. Looking forward here, in terms of my future, what I'm hoping to do is scale to 6 figures a month. That's going to be happening over the next 6 to 8 months. And how I'm doing that, you may ask, how is Ashton scaling to 6 figures a month? He's doing that through pretty much running ads to a VSL funnel, and that VSL funnel to book a call. I made the mistake kind of initially of kind of going way too hands off in terms of sales. I think that I need to be hands on sales up until that 6 figures a month mark, and then I can look at outsourcing. But as of right now, it's simple. The amount of money you make is directly proportional to how many offers you make. Directly proportional. And as of right now, I'm only making as many offers to make the amount I'm making right now, which is not 6 figures a month. So what I want to do right now is make more offers. And the more offers I'm making, I'm getting those offers through, running ads and kind of the processes I'm doing with my VSL funnel. So this is kind of a check-in video. This is kind of like a video for myself as well, to kind of like assess and kind of talk about where I'm at right now, where I'm hoping to go to. And I'm hoping that if you watch this video, and maybe you're someone who thinks they want to start some sort of business or start something, what I would say to you is I need you to understand that if you're not in enough pain, you're never going to change, right? When I first got into lifting, I didn't get into lifting because I wanted to just be big, right? I didn't just say to myself, oh, I just want to lift, right? No person who's ever gotten big just says, I want to just start lifting, right? I got into lifting because I physically, mentally, spiritually felt so dissatisfied with my body at that time that I needed to change, or else something horrific was going to happen, right? So what I did, because that pain was so high, my action was in turn leveled with that pain. So I removed myself from that pain, right? So if you're wanting to start a business right now, I would ask yourself, are you in pain, right? If you're not in pain, then I wouldn't bother with it. I know this may sound weird, but I wouldn't, right? If you're comfortable, if you're happy, if everything's going good, then I would just continue with what you're doing. But if you're like one of those people who has that kind of like burning little tingling in their stomach, and that tingling just doesn't ever really go out, and you go to bed and you ask yourself, shit, I was a pussy today. I did fucking nothing today. Or even though you did a lot, right? And you're really hard on yourself, and you kind of always have that like, what now, what now, what now, what next, never really stopping. Maybe you should look at, potentially getting into business. But I would ask yourself, how do you put yourself into pain to start a business? It's a very interesting question, kind of getting philosophical here. But what I would do is honestly corner yourself. This is the strategy that's been used by like Friedrich Nietzsche, so many entrepreneurs, Sam Ovens, Alex Hormozy, so many of these guys. Pretty much what the strategy is you just burn your boat. You burn your comfort. You burn your safety. Your safety net, you burn. So there's nothing to fall back on. If there's nothing to fall back on, you just don't fall. It's as simple as that, right? And once you do that, you remove that layer of comfortableness from the equation, and you automatically kind of put yourself in pain. And once you're in that state, you are going to take action. So I'd ask yourself, if you're in a job, if you're in school, if you're not in either and you're just like living some sort of life, what can you remove to allow yourself to take action? What I did is I dropped out of school. So automatically my parents were like mad, right? I moved to a place where I had to pay rent, right? before I had everything paid for me. Now I have to pay rent. Now I have to pay my own bills, my own expenses, my own everything. Um, and now it's like I have to do it. And what I did is I also invested in a few different things. So like I bought this watch. This is like $15,000. You may ask, or you may say, if you make 30 grand, why would you spend 15 of it? If you make 20 grand, why would you spend 15 of it? Right? For me, the reasoning to do this was I spent the money on this watch, and then I checked my bank account, and you get that feeling. You're like, oh shit, I just dropped 15 grand, right? And it puts you back in a state of go, go, go. And every time I've done that, I've always dug myself out. I just recently, so I bought this watch for 50K, and then I spent 10K on a mentorship, right? Just over 10K on a mentorship. And then I bought a bunch of other stuff that added up, right? So if you're able to kind of put yourself in pain, you can kind of take direction and take action on your plan. What Friedrich Nietzsche did is he would go to the casino when he was pretty much feeling like comfortable, quote unquote. And he was so self-aware that he would go to the casino and he would just gamble everything. And he would either leave the casino, 100 times richer than he is, right? Or dirt broke poor. And each of those was a win for him because he was comfortable at the time. So he just made way more. Or he removed everything and he released that burning spirit to go back out and make more, right? So you come as an entrepreneur, you have to play with risk. You're not an employee who's getting a check every month consistently. I have clients who are paying me monthly, but that client can turn to me and say, hey, Ashton, you know what? I'm not really feeling like paying this month, so I'm not going to pay you. As an employee, you are going to get paid no matter what. You have unions backing you. You have contracts that are like literally legal union binded contracts. And if you just barely scrape by as an employee, you're going to get fucking paid the amount you agreed on. As an entrepreneur, you can have a contract that's binded legally, or you can not have a contract. You have a verbal agreement, and people will just say, the service was good, but I'm okay, right? So you have to really, as an entrepreneur, you really have to give so much value so that they feel like super indebted to you and that they're reciprocating way less than you are reciprocating to them. So that's the video. I know it's kind of a ramble, but I'm going to label this video. I don't even know the title for this video. I'm going to label this video like reflection or something. I don't know. I'll label this video something about my past and kind of how I was able to get to this point. I've been just thinking about content as well recently. I know before I've done some like thumbnail type content. I don't want to make thumbnail-y videos with, hey, this is how I made this much money at the age of 12. Or this is how I make e-com stores and my dropshipping store, right? It's like, it's a little immature, and I think authenticity is everything. So I'm just going to make this a raw video. I'm probably not going to edit this at all. I'm just going to roll, like I'm literally rolling right now, and I'm going to label it, and just kind of for all my YouTube videos in general. I know with the whiteboard series, that's very authentic. That's just ripped off the dome. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video, leave a thumbs up. You know a little bit about me. You know a little bit about my story, and I hope you got some value from this. Thank you.